Sophia Bennett woke up to the sound of her phone ringing incessantly. Her heart sank when she saw her mother's name on the screen, calling at such an early hour. With a trembling hand, she answered, and the world as she knew it shattered with Emily's first sob. Sophia, your father, he's gone. A heart attack. In that moment, the room spun, and her chest tightened as if an iron fist had gripped her heart. Stunned and numb, Sophia made her way to her parents' house. The drive felt like a lifetime, the city of Los Angeles a blur through her tear-filled eyes. Memories of her father, Robert Bennett, flashed in her mind, his warm laugh, his gentle advice, his unyielding love for his family. She couldn't reconcile the vibrant man she knew with the cold, hard truth of his sudden death. When Sophia arrived, she found Emily in the living room, surrounded by family photos and Robert's belongings. Her mother looked broken, her eyes red and swollen from crying. Sophia collapsed beside her, holding her mother tightly as they both wept. The house, once filled with the comforting presence of her father, now felt like a hollow shell echoing their grief. Days blurred together as they made arrangements for Robert's funeral. Sophia moved through them in a haze, the reality of her father's absence too immense to fully comprehend. After the service, Sophia and Emily began the painful process of sorting through Robert's belongings. It was a ritual of love and loss, each item a reminder of the man who had meant everything to them. One evening, as they sifted through boxes in the attic, Sophia found a set of keys and a letter addressed to her. Her hands shook as she opened the letter, her father's familiar handwriting bringing a fresh wave of tears. In the letter, Robert revealed that he had opened a restaurant in her name, hoping it would be a gift for her future. But the joy of this discovery was tainted by the revelation that the restaurant was struggling, teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. Sophia's heart ached with a mix of pride and sorrow. Her father had always believed in her, always seen her potential even when she doubted herself. Now, more than ever, she felt the weight of his belief. Determined to honor his memory, Sophia vowed to save the restaurant. It was the last piece of him she could hold on to, and she wasn't going to let it slip away. The decision to save the restaurant gave Sophia a new sense of purpose amidst her grief. She shared her plan with Emily, who supported her wholeheartedly despite her own heartache. Together, they devised a strategy for Sophia to join the restaurant staff undercover, to understand its problems from the inside. Sophia knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to fight for her father's legacy, no matter the cost. Sophia stood outside the restaurant, the worn-out sign bearing her family name. It felt surreal, knowing this place held her father's dreams and hopes for her. She took a deep breath, clutching the job application she had filled out under a false name. Entering the restaurant, she was hit by the scent of cooking food mixed with the staleness of neglect. Her heart pounded as she approached the manager, Jason, who barely glanced at her before shoving a mop and bucket into her hands. The first days were grueling. Sophia scrubbed floors, washed endless piles of dishes, and took out the trash. Her muscles ached, and her spirits were low. She had never imagined working in such conditions, but she reminded herself why she was there. The staff were friendly but seemed downtrodden, their smiles never reaching their eyes. Sophia could sense the underlying tension, the quiet desperation in their movements. Jason, the manager, was a constant presence, his eyes cold and calculating. He barked orders, showing little respect for the staff. Sophia felt his gaze linger on her, as if he suspected she didn't belong. The more she observed, the more she realized how deep the problems ran. Supplies were always short, money seemed to vanish without explanation, and the atmosphere was oppressive. It was clear that something was very wrong. One night, after a particularly grueling shift, Sophia found herself alone in the kitchen. She took the opportunity to search for clues. In a locked drawer, she discovered invoices and financial records that made no sense. Her suspicions about Jason grew stronger. She knew she had to be careful. If he found out she was investigating, it could mean the end of her mission and the restaurant. Despite the fear and exhaustion, Sophia found solace in her growing friendship with David, a cook who had been with the restaurant since the beginning. David was kind and ethical, a rare light in the dark environment. They bonded over late-night conversations and shared dreams of turning the restaurant around. His unwavering support gave Sophia the strength to continue her undercover work, even when it felt overwhelming. The strain of keeping her identity a secret weighed heavily on Sophia. She longed to tell the staff who she really was, to share her vision for the restaurant's future. But she knew the time wasn't right. She had to gather more evidence, to build a case strong enough to expose Jason's corruption. The stakes were too high to risk a premature revelation. As the days passed, the tension in the restaurant grew. Sophia could feel the pressure mounting, a sense of impending crisis. She was walking a tightrope, balancing her cover job with her investigation. Every shift brought new challenges, new moments of doubt. But through it all, she held onto her father's memory, his unwavering belief in her. She was determined to succeed, no matter how difficult the path ahead. Sophia's unease grew with each passing day as she unearthed more evidence of Jason's corruption. One evening, after the restaurant closed, she stayed late to comb through the financial records she had managed to copy. Her heart pounded as she pieced together the extent of Jason's embezzlement. He had been siphoning money for months, covering his tracks with false invoices and manipulated accounts. The betrayal stung deeply, knowing this man was destroying her father's dream for his own gain. As Sophia uncovered the extent of Jason's deceit, her anger simmered beneath her calm exterior. She felt a profound sense of injustice, not just for her father, but for the employees whose livelihoods were at stake. The restaurant wasn't just a business, it was a community, a place where people had invested their hopes and dreams. She couldn't stand by and let it be ruined. David's support became a lifeline. They met in secret, sharing information and devising a plan to expose Jason. Their late-night meetings were filled with whispered conversations and shared fears. David's steady presence and unwavering belief in her mission bolstered Sophia's resolve. She felt a deepening connection with him, a bond forged through their shared struggle. It was a light in the midst of the darkness, giving her hope and strength. The danger of discovery loomed constantly. Sophia was hyper-aware of Jason's presence, his watchful eyes, and his unpredictable temper. Each time she saw him, her pulse quickened, a mix of fear and determination. She had to be meticulous, ensuring her investigation remained hidden. Any slip-up could mean disaster, not just for her but for everyone depending on the restaurant. One fateful night, as Sophia was copying crucial documents, she heard footsteps approaching. Panic surged through her. She hastily hid the papers and pretended to be cleaning. Jason entered, his expression cold and suspicious. What are you doing here so late?" he demanded. Sophia forced a casual smile, praying he couldn't hear her racing heart. Just finishing up. It's been a long day." Jason's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, she thought he saw through her facade. But he simply grunted and walked away, leaving her shaken but resolute. Sophia knew she was running out of time. The evidence was damning, but she needed a way to present it without alerting Jason prematurely. She and David decided to approach Emily and the restaurant's board. It was a risky move, but they needed allies who could help them bring Jason to justice. The weight of the secret was becoming unbearable, and they couldn't fight this battle alone any longer. With the meeting set, Sophia felt a mix of anticipation and dread. This was the turning point. If they succeeded, they could save the restaurant and honor her father's legacy. If they failed, everything she had worked for would crumble. The stakes had never been higher, and the pressure was immense. But in the midst of the turmoil, she held on to a glimmer of hope. With David by her side and her father's memory guiding her, she was ready to face whatever came next. The night before the meeting with the board, Sophia felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. She had everything ready: the evidence, her notes, and the plan she and David had meticulously crafted. But as she lay in bed, doubts crept in. What if they didn't believe her? What if Jason found out before they could present their case? The uncertainty gnawed at her, making sleep impossible. The next morning, as Sophia entered the restaurant, she could feel the tension in the air. She glanced at David, who gave her a reassuring nod. They were ready, but it seemed the universe had other plans. Just before the lunch rush, Jason stormed into the kitchen, his face twisted with rage. Sophia. In my office, now. His voice boomed, silencing the clatter of the kitchen. The staff exchanged worried glances as Sophia followed Jason, her heart pounding. In the small, cluttered office, Jason threw a stack of papers on the desk. Explain this, he demanded. Sophia's blood ran cold as she saw her own handwriting, notes she had made during her investigation. How had he found them? Panic surged through her as she struggled to form words. I don't know how those got there, she stammered, but Jason cut her off. Don't lie to me. You've been stealing from the restaurant, haven't you? The accusation hit her like a physical blow. Stealing? She couldn't believe what she was hearing. That's not true, she protested, her voice shaking. But Jason wasn't listening. He leaned in close, his eyes filled with malice. I know what you're up to, and I won't let you ruin this place. Consider yourself suspended, effective immediately. Sophia felt the room spin around her. The ground seemed to crumble beneath her feet as she realized the gravity of the situation. Word of her suspension spread quickly through the restaurant. Sophia walked out, her head held high despite the tears threatening to spill. She couldn't let Jason see her break. Outside, she collapsed on a bench, the weight of her father's legacy pressing down on her. She felt utterly defeated, the fight draining out of her. How could she expose Jason now? How could she save the restaurant when she was barred from even entering it? David found her there, sitting alone, her face buried in her hands. He sat beside her, his presence a comforting anchor. We'll figure this out, he said softly. But Sophia shook her head, despair evident in her eyes. How? He's turned everyone against me. They think I'm a thief. David took her hand, squeezing it gently. We still have the evidence. We can still go to the board. You're not alone in this, Sophia. We'll fight together. David's words reignited a spark of hope in Sophia. She wasn't defeated yet. With David's support, she could still fight for her father's dream. The path ahead was uncertain and fraught with danger, but she had no choice but to move forward. The meeting with the board was their last chance, and she was determined to make it count. As she stood up, resolved to face whatever came next, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The battle was far from over, and she was ready to give it everything she had. The days leading up to the board meeting were fraught with tension. Sophia and David worked tirelessly to prepare their case, gathering every piece of evidence they could find. They met in secret, strategizing late into the night. Despite the shadow of Jason's false accusation hanging over her, Sophia found strength in David's unwavering support. His belief in her never wavered, a beacon of hope amidst the storm. Their relationship deepened in those moments of vulnerability. David shared stories of his own struggles and dreams, forging a bond that went beyond their shared mission. Sophia found herself opening up to him in ways she hadn't with anyone else, the weight of her father's legacy and the threat against it laid bare. In David's presence, she felt understood and supported, a rare comfort in the turmoil. On the day of the board meeting, Sophia stood outside the restaurant, nerves and determination warring within her. She adjusted her blouse, straightened her shoulders, and walked in with purpose. Emily and David were already inside, waiting for her. Their eyes met, a silent exchange of solidarity and readiness. Sophia took a deep breath, pushing aside the fear that threatened to overwhelm her. As they entered the boardroom, Sophia felt the weight of everyone's eyes on her. Emily's presence beside her was a grounding force, a reminder of why she was there. The board members listened attentively as Sophia and David presented their case, laying out the evidence against Jason with clarity and conviction. Emily interjected with heartfelt testimonies of Robert's vision for the restaurant, his dedication to its success. Jason's rebuttal was sharp and defensive. His attempts to discredit Sophia and David met with steely resolve. But Sophia held her ground, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. She saw skepticism in some faces, sympathy in others. The outcome hung in the balance, and Sophia knew this moment would determine everything. In the final moments of the meeting, Sophia made a bold move. She handed each board member a folder containing irrefutable evidence of Jason's wrongdoing. The room fell silent as they reviewed the documents, the weight of the truth undeniable. Sophia held her breath, praying silently for justice. Finally, the chairman spoke. Based on the evidence presented, it is clear that actions must be taken. Sophia's heart raced as he continued, Jason, you are hereby relieved of your duties as manager, effective immediately. Relief washed over Sophia, tears of gratitude and exhaustion threatening to spill. She glanced at David, who smiled at her triumphantly. They had done it, they had saved the restaurant. As Sophia emerged from the boardroom, she was met with applause and congratulations from the staff. Her suspension was lifted, her name cleared of Jason's false accusation. The sense of victory was sweet, but it was tempered by the knowledge of the challenges still ahead. With Emily's support and David by her side, Sophia knew they could rebuild and restore her father's dream. The restaurant began to change under Sophia's leadership. She implemented new policies, restored trust among the staff, and welcomed customers back with renewed enthusiasm. The journey had been arduous, but Sophia had emerged stronger, more determined than ever. Her bond with David flourished into a deep and abiding love, born from shared adversity and triumph. Together, they faced the challenges ahead with courage and resilience, knowing that their love and commitment would guide them through whatever came next. Under Sophia's leadership, the restaurant began to thrive once more. The atmosphere buzzed with renewed energy and optimism. Customers returned, drawn by the delicious food and the heartwarming story of redemption. Sophia worked tirelessly, pouring her heart and soul into every aspect of the business. It was more than just a restaurant now, it was a testament to her father's legacy and her own resilience. But Jason's shadow lingered, a constant reminder of the darkness they had overcome. Sophia couldn't shake the feeling of unease, knowing he still harbored resentment and possibly revenge. She tightened security, kept a watchful eye on every detail, determined not to let her guard down. David supported her unwaveringly, his presence a source of strength and reassurance. One evening, as Sophia was closing up the restaurant, she received a chilling message. A threatening note was slipped under the door, warning her to watch her back. Fear gripped her heart as she read the words, realizing Jason was not done with his vendetta. She showed the note to David, his expression darkening with concern. They knew they couldn't ignore this threat, couldn't afford to underestimate Jason's desperation. They decided to confront Jason directly, to demand he leave them alone once and for all. Sophia's hands shook as they entered his office, the memories of their last confrontation still fresh in her mind. Jason's smirk was infuriatingly familiar, his arrogance unchecked despite his downfall. What do you want now? He sneered, his voice dripping with malice. Sophia stood tall, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her stomach. You need to stop this, Jason. We won't let you destroy everything we've worked so hard to rebuild. David's presence beside her was a silent testament to their unity, their resolve unshakable. Jason's laugh was mocking, but there was a hint of uncertainty in his eyes. He knew he was no longer in control, that Sophia and David held the power now. Their confrontation escalated into a heated exchange, accusations and threats exchanged like blows. Sophia's anger flared, fueled by years of injustice and betrayal. But beneath the anger was a steely determination, a refusal to back down. They demanded Jason leave the restaurant and never return, a final warning laced with the weight of their newfound strength. In the end, Jason relented, his pride wounded but his defeat undeniable. He left, his threats lingering in the air like a fading storm. Sophia and David watched him go, relief mingled with a lingering sense of unease. They knew this wasn't the end of their challenges, but they also knew they had faced their greatest adversary and emerged victorious. As they walked back through the restaurant, Sophia felt a surge of gratitude for David's unwavering support. They embraced, their hearts beating in sync with the rhythm of their shared triumph. The restaurant bustled around them, filled with laughter and conversation. Sophia looked around, seeing not just customers but a community brought together by resilience and hope. With Jason finally out of their lives, Sophia and David focused on rebuilding and expanding the restaurant's success. The community's support grew stronger each day, drawn to the story of resilience and redemption that had unfolded within those walls. Sophia poured her heart into every dish, infusing each recipe with her father's spirit and her own determination. The restaurant became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of perseverance and love. As Sophia and David worked side by side, their bond deepened into a love that surpassed the trials they had faced. They found moments of joy amidst the chaos, stealing kisses in the quiet corners of the kitchen, sharing dreams of the future they hoped to build together. Their love story intertwined with the restaurant's revival, each feeding into the other with unwavering devotion. One evening, as the sun set over Los Angeles, Sophia stood outside the restaurant, watching the city come alive with lights and laughter. She couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought her here, the loss, the betrayal, and the ultimate triumph. Her father's presence felt closer than ever, his spirit alive in every corner of the restaurant he had dreamed of for her. Inside, the restaurant hummed with activity. Customers filled the tables, their laughter mingling with the aroma of freshly cooked meals. Sophia glanced around, feeling a swell of pride and gratitude. This place had become more than just a business. It was a symbol of hope and renewal, a testament to the strength of family and community. Emily joined Sophia at the window, her eyes shining with pride. "Your father would be so proud of you, Sophia," she said softly. Sophia smiled, tears shimmering in her eyes. "I hope so, Mom. I hope we're making him proud." Emily squeezed her daughter's hand, their shared grief and triumph woven into the simple gesture. They stood together, watching the restaurant thrive under Sophia's leadership, a legacy of love and perseverance. As the night stretched on, Sophia and David celebrated their success with the staff and loyal customers. The restaurant echoed with music and laughter, a celebration of new beginnings and endless possibilities. Sophia knew the road ahead would have its challenges, but she also knew she had the strength and support to face whatever came next. In the quiet moments that followed, Sophia found herself grateful for the journey that had led her here. She had learned that resilience was born from adversity, that love could conquer even the darkest of moments. As she looked into David's eyes, she saw their future reflected back at her, a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of endless tomorrows.